Project we can thrive.
Hello, everyone. Good evening from Tokyo. This is the first interview in 2020. So, Kim, thank you very much for this interview. And as usually, I would like to know more about your background and what is your story.
Absolutely. Thank you. An honor to be the first one of 2020. I didn't realize. So my name is Kim. I am Dutch Australian, currently living in Dublin, where I just quit my corporate job, literally, 5 days ago, really at the start of the new decade. And I'm going to be focusing full-time on my business, which is Ruwa coaching. I am an Akashic Records coach. So I essentially help people to live a more soul-aligned life that they absolutely love. So yeah, really excited to get started on that and focus on that 100% as I go off and travel Asia. So I'll be around Tokyo at some point. So who knows, we may actually meet someday. So yeah, I was born in Zimbabwe. I've lived in 7 different continents. So I've kind of traveled the globe from when I was literally 2 months old. And so I love cultures, I love languages, and I've always had this idea of I would love to make a big impact on the world. I really want to help people, support people to live their full potential. And so I first started with my life and executive coaching diploma. Yeah, 2 actually main things happened in my life. My dad passed away almost 2.5 years now, 2.5 years ago now. And then I discovered a serious health issue. And both things actually helped me to decide I need to do something. I need to change something. I need to take action because life can be really short and much shorter than you actually intend to live, unfortunately. So that really got me moving. That really lit a fire inside of me to start exploring things that I already knew I wanted to work with. I knew I wanted to be a coach when I was 17, 18. I remember writing an email to a bunch of coaches in the Netherlands where I was living at the time, saying, "Hi, I'm Kim. I want to go to coach school. Where is that? What do you do?" And they're like, "Yeah, get yourself a university degree. And then we'll kind of talk." Because, well, I was still young. I probably would have changed things from the perspective that, well, where I'm at right now, but okay. And so, yeah, it's really amazing to finally be stepping into the arena, as Brené Brown would say, for example, which is, yes, scary and very exciting at the same time. So yeah, lots of amazing stuff to share and to do and to experience over the next years. Alongside my corporate job, I've been working on my business in my free time and the time that I had to set things up. And I've been working with clients from even back in the days when I got my life coaching certification. But now it's the real deal, so to speak. I actually have time during the day to work with my clients. So, yeah.
Okay. So this question is for people who decide to be coach or who want to be in a training industry. And this is like transition period. You already successfully finished and now you are full-time focused on your business. So is that because now you have kind of financial security, or you just decided now is the time to have full commitment to my own things, or something in between?
I remember working with one of the coaches back in the day where I was like, "Oh, I can't quit my job because I need to have a certain amount of money." Mm-hmm. I don't know what the figure was. I was like, "I need to have that first before I can actually quit my job." At the moment, I've invested massively in myself, so my savings are actually quite minimal, to be very honest. But I've gotten to this point where I'm like, it's now or never. It's the new decade, which actually meant a lot for me. 10 years of a period of 10 years have passed, and this is just a fresh start, like perfect timing. So, and yes, the money thing, well, it does make me nervous sometimes where I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? I won't have a paycheck, but that's part of being an entrepreneur. It's taking that risk. And I know that my responsibility is to show up as the best version of myself, because I know that inspires a lot of people that are following me or that are watching me or that are directly in my circle of friends or family. So not only am I doing it for myself, I'm very much aware that it's necessary for me to take these steps, because walk your talk as a coach is one of the things they're drilled into your mind from when you start studying. So yeah, here's me.
can you share a little bit more about your business? So you are coach, but can you give us idea who are your clients?
So I've shifted from life and executive coaching to Akashic Records coaching. So basically what that does, so the Akashic Records, just even to explain, because a lot of people don't know what it is. Essentially we have a soul on the fifth dimension, we have our mind at the fourth dimension, and we have our body or our action at the third dimension. So what I've learned to do over the past couple of years is I've learned to access the energy at the fifth dimension. So essentially I read people's spiritual DNA, if you will. So I can see what somebody's gifts are. I see the exact distribution of the different vibrational energies that are available to us from when we were created back in the days, like millions or I don't even know how many years ago. All of us were created as souls. So we have something called the Divine Soul Blueprint, which is essentially a blueprint, like a blueprint for a house, but it's for ourselves. So it's who we are at soul level. So my coaching really helps a person, first of all, understand who they are. So what is their purpose? What are their gifts? Many of us, well, some of us know that partially because we've had coaching, because we've worked. Well, we've done lots of self-development work. So we know that often to some extent. This is really giving a person a much broader idea of this is who you are. This is your essence. And then what I can see is how well aligned a person is. So it's all very scientific. It's a bunch of numbers in which I show, okay, this is your primary energy, your primary talent, and these are all the other ones. And I can see at a percentage level how well you are connected at the level of mind and at the level of action. So essentially how you are showing up with those talents and to which degree, essentially, to which extent. And so once we know that, I also do energetic clearings of the system, because over our past lifetimes, we've taken choices that were not in line. I always say we would all be the Oprah of our own lives. If we were in the exact same state as we were when we were created, we would be taking full use of the vital force energy that is available to us. We would have all the freaking time, money, and freedom to do whatever we would like to, because we are showing up with our full gift. The opposite is true for many of us, which is absolutely normal. So I help people clear the system so they get a boost of energy. And then through action, I set people up to really embrace whatever their goal is. I always ask people for a one-word description of what they would like to achieve within, say, the 6-month period that they're working with me. So it could be success, it could be freedom, it could be whatever the person is looking for, peace, calm, and so forth. So we work together towards that goal. And I literally see in a person's divine soul blueprint how much more aligned they are. And people feel it. People see it in how they show up, in the results that show up in their life, because the more we are aligned, the more synchronicities happen, the more opportunities show up in our life. So that in a nutshell, it could go on for a couple of hours, is what I do. So I help people find more alignment, direction, and purpose in their life, essentially.
And when you're doing with your clients, it sounds very interesting, your methodology, and when people define their DNA and what holding them back to achieve what they really want in their lives. Is there something, sometimes you found they are surprised with the results?
So typically a lot of what I channel, so a lot of the story about who people are, in essence, a lot of it resonates. Because like deep down, when we're aligned to it, when we use our intuition, when we follow our gut feelings, we know certain things that we're not doing, or we know what we should be doing, if that makes sense. So let me pick an example of the client that I've had my ad. So I started working with her, and essentially she was very curious. She's a very spiritually interested person. So she does a lot of meditation and yoga and all kinds of she uses all kinds of modalities to make herself become more like herself. So we worked together over a series of time. There was one example where I remember I went into I look at past lives, and I check what people, the choices that they took back in those lifetimes that were not aligned, right? So those are the blocks and restrictions. So I mentioned that something happened in a certain lifetime where she was living in India. I don't remember the exact story. And she was like, oh my God, that makes total sense. I always knew that I had some kind of like unexplainable link with India, for example. Just to name a small example. There was one other client in which I did the same. I went into her past life stories and something about money came up. So the story went that she was a girl in that lifetime. She was living in a small village, don't know exactly where, and there was a royal family living close to her. So at some point she was contacted by the queen of that little town. And the queen asked her, look, my son is getting married or my son is intending to get married to this girl. And she didn't really want her son to get married to that person because she was she had a very strong personality. And the queen actually wanted to stay in control of things. Like, of course, she wanted to get her son to get married, but she wanted to stay in control of things. So she basically made a deal with this person in that lifetime and said, look, if you marry my son and remain passive, because that would open up, control for her, I will return the favor in money. So essentially she was exchanging money for passivity was the energy that came up. So great. The stories are usually very short. Then I do the clearing. And funnily enough, a lot of stuff around money, well, not funnily enough, a lot of stuff was happening around money for that person, for my client in her life. So only a couple of days after, she was contacted by a debt collector. Mm-hmm. And the debt collector told her, look, you have a credit card debt that she had totally forgotten about, or that she thought had been solved of, I think it was around $18,000. Mm-hmm. And guess how much money she had in her account?
$18,000, yeah. Exactly the same as a debt.
Exactly, because once the energy is clear, the universe shows us opportunities to start taking new action, because any of this work, any spiritual work, any energy work for that matter, if we clear stuff, great, it'll be solved for some period of time. But after that, if we continue in the same pattern, nothing's going to change. So she had that exact example in her life where she could take an action and shift gears, and now she's living in an amazing home. She was living in a little studio. Now she's living in a 3-bedroom apartment because things have actually shifted for her. So that's one example that I can come up with off the top of my head.
Because you have this gift and you really enjoying in helping people. What kind of impact you want to have maybe in this year and the next few years?
So my strategy for this year is, so I am transitioning to fully online. So I'm like I said, I'm gonna start traveling in Asia literally in a couple of days. So my business is going to transition fully online. It's still just myself at the moment, yet I am very well aware for me to scale it to the financial levels that I have in mind. I know I need the support of other people. So getting in people that will help me, with all my automation processes, my content. I work already with coaches, with brand consultants, and so forth. So I have some freelancers that I work with on a regular basis, yet I know that in the future my team will definitely expand. Well, I will have a team beyond myself. So I haven't imagined that exactly 100% yet, though I know for sure that I will be working together with people. The impact that I want to make is huge. I have massive plans, because I know this type of work, that this and of course many other modalities, can really help us understand that we are in charge of our own life, that we have a responsibility, but that we can take the responsibility once we are ready to do so, and to really create the most amazing freaking life that we could ever imagine. That is what all my journey up to here has really allowed me to see. We are in charge, and we can empower ourselves as much as we can, because we're divine beings. We have everything available. Like energetically, we have unlimited potential. It is just that we need to get out of our own ways, and we need to start taking new action, because literally in the energy, I can see if we continue doing the same thing we've always done, nothing's going to change.
Well, so the same results, yeah, totally.
Always the same.
I'm curious, because now you decided to focus on your journey 100%. You have a plan for this year. So many women who are in our group, also people who are watching this video, they might be curious, how do you re-energize yourself? How do you find energy to achieve all those things? Maybe your energy level going up and down, but maybe for all of us. So what do you do on a daily, weekly basis to actually keep that flow? And do you need some support from your family, from your partners, or you can manage everything by yourself?
That's a great question. I probably could manage everything by myself, but that's not realistic because I know that there's support out there. So we're all one in the end. So why would I do everything on myself? So I have some daily practices. I work a lot with angel cards, with tarot cards to give me direction on a daily basis. I work a lot with crystals. I have my journal. So I journal twice a day, even though it's a little bit up and down now, my slightly different routine, but I'll get 100% back into that. So I very much am conscious of setting an intention for my day and really being aware of the result that I'm calling into my life. And of course, I do all the Akashic Records work for myself as well. So I'm in touch with my spirit guides, and on a periodic basis, I check which actions are in line with my soul to give me direction. It's not that I'm dousing every day with my pendulum. What should I do? What should I do? Because in the end, we have free will and we can choose things that we'd like to choose. However, there are, of course, directions or paths that are more in line with who we are. So I apply the things that I do with my clients to my own life as well. I use Reiki. I use a range of different tools. Me personally, I have a coach that I work with, so I speak to her whenever I need to. I have my monthly calls with her. I have an amazing partner, amazing family and friends. So yes, I am. I can get quite emotional, as we all do sometimes, So it's like, oh my God, have I made the right decision? And then 2 minutes later, I'm like, yes, I did, of course. Mm-hmm. So it's really important. Plus, of course, online communities I'm part of, like your community now just recently, and many, many others, where, it inspires me to see other women and men, of course, entrepreneurs that are really going for what they aim to go for in life. And yeah, it kind of rubs off. So the positive energy is where I tend to be,
You have that clarity. So is there anything you can share with us, which can be like maybe the last remark for this interview?
I think for me, it's mainly the impact on people. Whenever I get a comment or a feedback, be it live or online, where they're like, oh my God, remember that phrase that you always say? Like, oh, are you gonna remember this in 5 years? That's something I say a lot, for example, that people come to me and they say, that has made such a big difference in my life because I really look at things from a different perspective and it just uplifts me. Or the smallest thing that people say is that I am very well aware of how I show up, especially around other people. So a smile for me is just something so important that can really help people. And so remember when I was feeling bad and you gave me a hug or a smile, that just really helped me. So for me, it's really the impact and the stories that other people share that for me make the absolute difference. That's what I do it for.
Kim, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your story. Congratulations one more time for your decision to focus on your passion full time. And for all women and men who are watching this video, if you want to find out what have you been in your previous life and how that can make impact on your current life, please be free to reach out to Kim. Kim, I hope I can see, we will see each other in Tokyo or somewhere in Asia, maybe in Europe as well. Wish you all the best. And thank you one more time for this beautiful interview and for your story.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's been a pleasure. All the best.